The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Back into it, it's Hour 2 at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency, and excited to get things kicked off. Two legends with Nebraska football, part of the Pipeline, center Aaron Graham, standout guard Joel Wilks, both joining us here on Hail Varsity. Guys, good to see you both again, and I know an awesome event coming up to celebrate the Pipeline on the 21st of April. Guys, welcome back to Hail Varsity.
Hey, thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, Joel Wilks, Aaron Graham, both the video chat now, and of course, guys, it's spring football, so we'll start with you, Joel, and get your take, Aaron. Great memories of all those spring sessions, or was it something you guys just endured?
Well, for me, it was probably a little different. It was a little stressful for me being a walk-on guy. I was always looking over my shoulder like we're trying to catch somebody to beat somebody out, or didn't want my spot to get taken. So I was always kind of stressful that time of year, and it kind of made me grumpy and stressful. And that's why I was always getting into fights, because that's all I was thinking about was I don't want to lose my spot. And, I wasn't like these highly touted guys that, out of high school that came in and, had a better, easier chance of getting their spot. So that's what I remember.
Aaron, was he a good fighter?
Mediocre. He was a pit bull fighter. He wouldn't quit. That's the thing. And he did fight every day. I didn't win them all. I mean, it was not a if or when. It was strictly when Buddha was going to get in a fight with somebody at practice. He was kind of nasty that time of year. But, the thing I remember is, we, especially the five of us, and certainly it goes deeper than that, but we love the game. So, spring ball is a time for us to kind of shine and work on our skill and get better and progress towards, what we were hoping for with the, championship season. So I look forward to spring ball. And, I'm sure maybe the latter part, by my senior year, I probably wasn't quite excited, but we did love to play. We were always full of energy, and loved to work. And hopefully the results showed over our career.
Well, guys, if you could quickly take me through just what the differences are for you guys between spring practice and fall practice. Obviously, with preparation and game week getting going in the fall, the practice has to be a little bit different. But I want you to take me through, and we can start with you, Aaron, just what the offensive line would work on in spring football that allowed you guys to make strides during the offseason in order to get yourself ready for fall.
Well, it was a lot of fundamentals, to be honest with you. We didn't do anything really super crazy, I don't think, Joel. But if there's one thing I tell you that we did get tired of, you get tired of beating up the guy in front of you, that's for sure, because you get tired of going against the same competition. And by the time you get through, training camp and fall camp, you were really anxious, because it'd been 6 months or even 9 months since you'd gone against any other competition outside of your team. But it was a lot of just honing in. People were trying to make their way up the depth chart. It was definitely a time for Joel and I, and essentially everyone. If you were trying to get to a starting position, it was Coach Osborne and Coach Semper were notorious for grading, and everything we did was reviewed, and the scrimmages were reviewed and graded. And so we were always anxious to get to the film room and see their interpretation of how we played.
Joel Wilks and Aaron Graham with us at Hail Varsity Radio. Friday, April 21st at the Hail Varsity Club. The Pipeline, 1994 national champions, that offensive line, the legendary line, and all members of the Pipeline will be on hand. A 6 to 9 event at the Hail Varsity Club up in La Vista, our kind of roadshow home in Omaha. We're always excited to be up there for it. But we're talking with Aaron Graham, multi-year starter, along with Joel Wilks joining us, Rob Zadiska, of course, Brendan Stye. and Mr. Zach Wiegert as what a collection of talented linemen. How many starts did this core five have together? Did you have 2 years together? I know, Aaron, you were the starting center with a new line the following year that went back to back. But when did you guys all break in at the same time, or was there different kind of parts and pieces to it? What do you remember, Joel? I'll start with you, and then Aaron, you follow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a little bit of parts and pieces. I mean, my junior year, I was coming in, and Rob and I were kind of competing for the same spot, and then I got injured. I missed like the first 4 games of that season. So those guys, Brendan and Rob and those guys were getting reps, sooner than I was. And then I got healthy and worked my way back in the mix and was playing a lot towards the middle at the end of the season, playing against Florida State and that. And then the senior year was just the 5 of us the whole time, pretty much, from day one. So.
Yeah, all this, it's kind of crazy to think back, and, the Brendan Stye rode the pine for almost 2 years, backing up a pretty good football player by the name of Will Shields. Yeah. And, Zach was a starter his freshman year, I believe he started. And then I had playing time, my freshman year, believe it or not. I think the only 4 guys, there were a total of 5 guys maybe that contributed my redshirt year. Me, Brooke Maringer made the travel team, Phil Ellis, Tommy Frazier, and maybe Doug Coleman. So it really wasn't very common for the freshmen to play, but I was the starting long snapper, and so I got a chance to play in all the games my freshman year, but didn't start until really the halfway point or more my sophomore year. So every one of us come from a different angle. Rob played multiple positions. Zach was pretty much just the anchor there, right tackle for his 4 years. But it wasn't like we all, we started the same and we just kind of worked our way through. It was the special thing about us is, I think, in our memory is what we were able to accomplish in 1994, which would have been my junior year and everybody else's senior year, because it just, we knew we had the group. That was the best group that, I'd seen put together, since my time at Nebraska. I think everybody, all the other guys agreed. So when I think back to us playing, I really think about that 1994 season.
Did you guys feel the pressure, or was that even in the mind because of how close you came the year before, Aaron?
I don't think we weren't pressure guys. We were workaholics and guys that competed like none other. I mean, I remember, after the loss to Florida State in the 93 Orange Bowl, we couldn't get in the weight room fast enough. I remember Joel and Brennan and I being in the rec center a couple of days after the new year, and everybody's still on vacation or away from family, and we were in there pumping iron, getting ready to go. And it was just we fed.
Remember?
What's that?
Boyd and those guys told us to take a couple weeks off and everything. And we're like,
we weren't allowed in the weight room, so we just screw it. We're gonna go make our own room. Yeah, and so it's the way we competed with each other, and I came in and in that 94 season, set the pancake record single season. I was just elated. I was on cloud 9. I was ready to kind of tell my boys about it, let them read the board, what Chris Tenneper had. And of course, Joel comes back the next week and breaks it. So, it was that competitive, like you wanted to one up every single thing we do. We couldn't do anything at all without competing, with each other. It was constantly who's going to have the best practice, who's going to win the races, after practice, who's going to lift the most weights. And it was nonstop all day long. And that's what really got the best out of each of us.
Aaron Graham and Joel Wilks are with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, 2 legendary members of that Husker Pipeline. And Joel, I'll ask this question to you, and Aaron, if you have any thoughts, you can follow as well. But whenever you guys look at the modern college football, as we enter into the transfer portal and the NIL era, do you think that if you guys were playing in the modern college football, that the legacy of the Pipeline could have changed? The fact that, anyone could have entered the transfer portal and left at any given time, do you think that would have changed anything with just the legacy of the Husker Pipeline?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, it's so different nowadays with guys coming and going, and I don't know. I'd like to think we were just all so loyal to the program and Coach Osborne, and I don't think that would have been an issue with us. Plus, 3 of us were Nebraska kids. So we, since I was in the crib, man, I wanted to play for Nebraska. So I know I wouldn't have gone anywhere. I might have got beat out by some NIL transfer that came in from some school, but I wasn't going anywhere. I was, I bled Husker since I was a kid. So go ahead, Aaron.
I had an interesting conversation with Brendan Dye about this about 6 months ago. And I said, if they would have the transfer portal, you would have been gone. And he's like, no way, I wouldn't. And I said, you know what? You rode the pine until your junior year. I'm saying, Joe and I knew him his sophomore year, and he was anxious. He was up. He wanted to be on the field and playing.
Yeah.
And to say it wouldn't have been the same or would be different. I think it absolutely would have.
Yeah.
I don't like it, to be honest with you. I can appreciate players being in situations that they want to change. But, my experience with talking with the current coaches, the previous coaches, it seems like they are under an immense amount of pressure. If I don't get this kid on the field, he's going to leave. I'm like, imagine that, like going to Coach Tennifer, Joel, and saying, hey, if you don't play, I'm going to leave. He'd be like, leave.
Yeah.
And get out of here. I don't care. I ain't doing that.
They always say they got to recruit their current players. They got to make sure they're doing okay, and they're patting them on the back. It's a lot different than getting your butt chewed down in the pit. I don't remember anybody holding my hand or patting my back. It's a different time. You got to make sure guys aren't going to leave.
It's a 24-hour deal. It's a 12-month-a-year deal for college coaches. And guys, you've both touched on the fact that it took you a while to get ready, and it took Coach Tennifer and Coach Young saying, we think you're ready, and you guys put the work in to get ready with reps and development through practice. And kids are going out there or being given the opportunity to go out there, and they're not ready yet in a lot of instances. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that, Aaron?
Yeah, I just think it is so hard to play offensive line being young. If you look back in our era and before, you look and there's just a small handful of guys that played their freshman year, right? Or take your true freshman year, and of course, Will Shields fit into that mold. And it's so hard to be able to learn the techniques. The instruction, the coaching has gotten so much better that the high school coaches are able to communicate so much more to these younger kids on how to really play and specifically play in the offensive line. The challenge is, you get some of these guys in there and Teddy Prochaska, I always feel like I don't know how to pronounce his name, but obviously the left tackle at Nebraska who's been injured. You look at that and you go 18, 19 years old, you put them in there and that kid is enormous. I was just down at practice last weekend. He's 6'10". He's a giant, but he's a baby. He's 19 years old, 20 years old, and you look at that and it's like your body has to come into this place where it can protect itself. And it's used to pushing the big heavy weight that you're blocking somebody in practice, but then you're going against All-American. You haven't seen, and you're putting your body in these positions that it's not accustomed to. I'm a believer that the reps and the practice and the development really was obviously that's the way you would want to do it. It's just unfortunate that in today's game, the coaches don't get that luxury of the time.
Well, you're spending time like we did on the scout team, getting your butt kicked by John Perella and Kenny Walker and those guys, and that's where you take your bumps and bruises and mentally get it where you can go against anybody because you have the confidence. I've gone against these top guys, but nowadays, these young guys are getting thrown in and they're having their bumps and bruises in front of this, 90,000.
To this day, to this day, even thinking back in my professional career, and you're so limited with a 53-man roster and 5 practice team guys, and here we are in Nebraska, and I've never seen as many people be active and doing something all the time at practice, running 4 stations. And you never, especially the younger guys, they didn't leave there going, boy, I wish I would have had some reps today. They're leaving their blood, sweat, they're beat up. They're earning their spot. They have to go 100 reps at practice and stand there repeatedly. Imagine the poor defensive lineman that sat there all day during inside zone and option and everything else that had to take us 5. It was relentless. It was not like, hey, we're going to really go easy on you in this play. It was we're trying to throw them on the ground every single play. And so they got good. And I look at those guys too, those guys who are the sophomore, freshmen and sophomores are trying, and their development. Jeff Ogard, big, huge guy, played, from Nebraska, had to play nose guard, every single scout team snap against us. And at some point you're just, man, you're either going to figure it out or just get your butt kicked every play. And of course he turned into a starter.
Ogard was monstrous, giant guy. And you look at how good both the lines of scrimmage were during the championship era, and a lot of it had to do with the development. Yes, the talent, the eye for talent, the depth, but as you guys have said for years, iron sharpening iron. And it happened Monday through Thursday. What an event coming up with the Pipeline, the 1994 offensive line at the Hail Varsity Club, the 21st of April, and it's a 6 to 9 p.m. event. And more information, the good folks at Pipeline Jerky, a part of this as well. Want to give them a shout out, but you can find out more information, hailvarsityclub.com is where you can log on. And the rundown is this. You got happy hour at 6. And then panel discussion, all 5 of the Pipeline members at 7 p.m. going to be on the Hail Varsity stage, that back room. It's going to be awesome. And an extended Q&A at 8 p.m. 2 of the members with us here, Aaron Graham, Joel Wilks, of course, Rob Zadiska, Brendan Stye, and Zach Wiegert. Guys, pretty cool news yesterday from Trev Alberts, and that is Frank Solich is coming back to Nebraska. Frank is being honored for the spring game. I'll start with you, Joel, and Aaron follow. Thoughts about Coach Solich? You both have stood firm with this program, not only your playing days, but all that's gone on the last 2 decades. You both have been supportive, whoever's been in that headset. And a thought from you, Joel, on Frank and just your experience with him.
Yeah, I saw that. Got up this morning and checked Twitter, and I saw that popped up, and it's about damn time. Long overdue, man. That guy, all he's done for the university, all the time he's put in. He played with my dad back in the day, just a legendary Husker, and it's about time we do it. And I thought it was funny. A lot of people are commenting the curse will be over once we do this, and all that stuff is pretty funny. But I think it's long overdue, and I'm really excited about it. Then I'm going to be there too. That's going to be great.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Couldn't be more excited to see Coach Solich. It's been a long time. It's painful thinking back, to the situation when I'm not going to say that I wasn't the one who was sitting there screaming, "We need change. We need to change." But you win 10 games. And here you are. How fun was that at the end of the day? And it's just certainly nothing against Coach Solich and what an awesome coach. The running backs that he was able to push out while he was there, and how they respected him and how he worked them. And he's done it for decades. And Brendan Stye's son played for him at the University of Ohio. Mm-hmm. Just graduating this year. So it'll be awesome to see him, and he's for sure, top A-list in our book, all the coaches we played with.
Aaron, start with you. Joel, you follow. The urban legend is a curse was put on the program. Do you buy it? Do you believe it? I know he did an interview earlier today with Eric Olson, and he's like, no, there's no such thing as a curse. I did not put it on there, and there would have been other people I would have put a curse on. That's what Frank said, and left it at that. Not a program. What do you chalk it up to? The easy answer is turnover, but it's it's a situation where the program's trying to get back to, what Frank was doing and what Bo was doing pretty regularly. That's winning in 9-10 ball games in a major league.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get hung up in much of the whole curse thing. It's I think part of it is, you hang out with these guys. I'm 49 this year. I'll be turning 50 this year, and I can't tell you how painful it is to have Iowa State fans come up to you, or Kansas State, or these guys that you're just like, gosh, it was like we owned them so bad when we, I can't remember which one it was, Iowa or one of those we beat 35 times in a row or something. And I think it's just kind of part of the cycle, and honestly think it's, I'm sure Alabama and Clemson will still be good for a while, but at the end of the day, we're going to stand back at some time and they're going to be going through something like we have. And we're all anxious to get back to that. And honestly, it's hard to duplicate. I mean, I'm just going to be honest and say it's really hard to duplicate. And I would say this, my senior year in high school, I visited most all the Texas schools, got recruited by a lot of the schools across the country, but I went to Nebraska and came back and told my family, I was like, they have the best facilities and amazing. And on top of it, I got to see Joel and Rob and Brendan and Zach, who were freshmen. And all I could think about was, I want to play with those guys. I mean, how awesome. Because I could see them. I remember asking one of the guys, like, I was looking at Rob and was like, is that guy like a senior? Or he goes, no, that kid's 18. He's a true freshman. I'm like, he's a freshman? I'm like, goodness gracious, he's 40 pounds bigger than me. Better eat my Wheaties, And, but, I think it was because of the facilities, and they were top 10 team. And I really think the struggle is going to be, look, here we are again. We're going to have the best facilities potentially in college sport. We got to have a winner. I mean, we've got to somehow crest that place of producing a winning product. And certainly Trev knows it. We all know it. But if we get to that place, then you got a chance. And it'll happen. There's no doubt it'll happen. But it's just going to be, how long is that? Are we going to get there this year? We're going to see a product. Is it going to take 3 years, 5 years? But it's going to take that to get the draw, to get people in Nebraska to really see what it's about. The fans, the greatest fans in all of sports, hung in there through all of this. And I just can't imagine. You can't imagine. I mean, as a player, we never got to be in the stands. We got to be on the field and feeling it. And I don't know that I even saw it post our career. Maybe the 97 years I was in the NFL, so I didn't really get to go to the games. But it's painful having our children. I took my kids real quick to Alabama. I got to watch Joe Burrow beat Alabama and Tua, and brought my son, who's probably 15, 16 years old, and we're walking around the stadium, and there's just all kinds of commotion, and there's people who are partying, and 100,000 people. And my son was like, is this what it was like when we were at Nebraska? I'm like, pretty close. Like, it's like, that's how awesome it is. And I want it for the fans, and we all want to experience that again. And when we do, I think it's going to be, nobody's going to let it go this time.
Joel, the curse, fake news?
Yeah, I don't believe in the curse. I was just joking around. I just reading that stuff. But I do. I always, I don't know if it's true, but you hear the story about how they got rid of Frank too, and that's always pissed me off. I just, how they did him dirty and didn't, man up and tell him face to face or whatever. So, I just think we owe him something big like that. Just, just to celebrate all he's done for the university and everything. I'm really excited about Trev being in charge too. And I think the whole football program's in line to do something great. I mean, everything I'm hearing about Matt Rule, it's following up from out here in Oregon, but I love everything he's saying. All the coaches, they're just high energy and they want to be physical and all the, saying all the stuff that, resonates with us. I hear him yelling in practice, dominating, and, saying those key words like be violent, dominate, all that stuff. I love it. So I'm really optimistic on what he's going to do with the program.
Aaron and Joel, quickly here before we get you out, and we really appreciate your time here today. Aaron, you mentioned the fact that, you don't like it whenever Iowa fans or Iowa State fans or Kansas State fans are talking trash. And I got to ask a question to both of you guys. Aaron, do you ever wear that Husker hat out? Or Joel, do you ever wear the Husker hoodie out and people come up and talk trash about Nebraska to you guys, not knowing who you guys are? Does that ever happen?
Oh, yeah. I hear all the time. I got to hear about the Ducks all the time. And I always go like this. I go, that's how many titles you've won. I even hear my own son. He's like, yeah, today he was telling me, who has got the best mascot in college football on some list? It's the Oregon Ducks. I'm like, I don't care about mascots. Who's got the most titles in college football? And we were like number 7 or 8. So yeah, people give me a hard time all the time, but I rep the stuff, and talk about the old days and everything. But yeah, I can't wait till we're ranked again, top 10 every year, and I don't have to hear it from everybody out here, all the Duck fans.
Yeah, I kind of wish I would get more people to come up to me and say something, to be honest. But I do think if there's one thing that I like about what's happening is that old word they used in the NFL a long time ago, which was the parity part, right? And this whole NIL and some other stuff it's kind of messing with that. But at the same time, it makes it that much better. It makes it that much better to what happens for Nebraska down the road. It makes it even sweeter when, all we've seen, all these schools, universities around us who had some sort of success, in the past decade, and where it wasn't even really a contest in most instances, during the era we played in. And I think that's good. I think it is good. And, like I said, it just makes it even better when Nebraska finally does crest back up to the top.
Hey guys, real quick, can I do a little plug on the event real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just so you know what we're doing. We're it's kind of like almost like we're getting a brand started, and we've got some logo stuff, and we're thinking about how can we be involved and help the university, and we're trying to figure out a way that with our name and notoriety over the years, how we can help bring better O-line recruits into the program, and with NIL or a scholarship or some kind of thing. So we put our heads together, and it's kind of like a brand launch. We're the original Pipeline is the name, and we're out there with socials, with Twitter and Instagram, the original Pipeline. We're gonna have merchandise for sale, T-shirts and hoodies and all kinds of stuff. And we're just trying to get in the game where we can give some of that money back and help the university get better players is kind of our thought process when we got this whole thing started. So we'll be doing that. We're going to be selling helmets. We're going to be, signing autographs and that kind of thing. And all that's going to go in a pot. And we're going to figure out how we can give some back and help get better linemen and get the thing rolling.
HailVarsityClub.com is where you log on, get yourself a table, 6 to 9, the 21st Friday before the spring game. Joel, do you have a website folks can go to if they want to pre-order, or maybe they want to send some Nebraska fans they know that are kind of like you, not in Nebraska, so if they can't get to the event, at least that they can get something in the mail?
Yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to have, tons of stuff on site there, and whatever doesn't sell, we're gonna put it on the Husk guys store, the guys from Pipeline Jerky.
Great.
So they're gonna have a link with or a certain section of their website that's just the original Pipeline gear, and we'll sell it on there after the event if you can't make it.
Okay.
And eventually, we're gonna start the social media. We've got a social media guru. His name's Joel Wilks, who's going to be setting up. We don't know how that's going to go, but it is. We're going to have our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff is going to be growing. And the intent here, we hope through this season we can gather a following, get people excited, tell the old stories, bring back that that brotherhood, that feeling of the offensive line, the importance of it. And like Joel said, the end goal here is we're hoping that there's an opportunity through NIL or scholarship that they need it. They need it. And we want to be able to sit there and say, listen, we want to give $100,000 to the pot and say, get that kid who's from Texas or California, like Brendan and myself, that we got to help them to get here. It's crazy we're even having that conversation or thinking about it, but that's where we're at today. So we're not going to sit on the sidelines. We're going to do what we can to help.
And you can find them on Twitter at the OG Pipeline, on Instagram at the Original Pipeline. Those are the two links to find them in Facebook as well.
We're gonna have we'll have a website eventually, and I'll put that website link on the socials. But for now, that's what we got.
Well, fellas, anything we can do as well. This was awesome to chat. Aaron, you mentioned you and a lot of your Husker friends at practice last weekend. Last 30 seconds or so, your thoughts on Coach Rule, just what you're seeing, the work you're seeing.
Well, I like it. I mean, I like what I saw for sure. I did honestly get a ton of time to move around at practice and see everybody. The linemen started to kind of corral, ran into Brendan, and we're like two, schoolboys sitting there chatting. We'd get that way. And it was a great reunion, I think, with just the players. I'm glad they did that. It's not like they haven't done it in the past or something, but I, from what I could see and gather, the response when I asked the linemen, I said, what do you guys think of the rule? And they're like, really, they said, and I could sense that they really liked his approach. And so, and honestly, when that question had been asked, or maybe the last coach or two, it was kind of like, like they would be pretty honest with us and say, it wasn't as upbeat as I think the response was, especially from those linemen. I mean, it's been a tough road to hoe with what they've gone through, and you're sitting there and you're talking to these guys, a lot of them with playing experience, and if they're feeling good, that's about as good a start as you can, right? It's just to say, look, I got a belief, I got a new rekindled belief, because boy, it could have gone really south, quickly after last year.
Joe Wilks, Aaron Graham, Hail Varsity Radio. Of course, the Hail Varsity Club, the Pipeline event, Friday, April 21st from 6 to 9. Go see all 5 members of the Pipeline National Championship offensive line. That is the standard, that 94 line. Guys, awesome. Joel, we'll see you down the road up at Hail Varsity Club. Aaron, awesome to get caught up with you again. And thanks for giving us a few minutes. Thanks for what you're doing with the club. And also thanks for what you're doing with your chance to give back to the university and with what you're doing with the Pipeline.
Well, thanks for having us, guys. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys at the event beforehand. You can, I'll get you a cold one.